And hello everybody, welcome back to LFC News. Obviously no game on the actual weekend because we play on Monday, of course taking on Barnsley in the FA Cup. And the way our season's kind of gone in the Premier League, the FA Cup becomes all that bit more important, really. I do like the FA Cup, I do like our domestic wins, you know, Anfield South and all of the rest of it. So the FA Cup does become important, but despite its importance, I am expecting a bit of a different team, of course, bringing on some players that don't necessarily play all of the time, maybe get to see some younger players, and yeah, usually that sort of, well, that happens when we do play in the FA Cup. However, ahead of that clash, there has been some terrible news, some devastating news, albeit, and as I said, I don't really take pride in making these videos. They're quite sad indeed. However, it needs to be done, all a part of the process, and of course we are going to be updating you on just what has happened in today's video. What's also going over all of the latest Liverpool news from the last 24 hours. But before we get into the video, guys, please can I be cheeky and ask you to hit the like button and hit the subscribe button for more. We're trying to get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Can we make that a reality? Well, that's up to you. Please do hit the subscribe button. So, yes, ladies and gentlemen, the horrible news is that Conor Bradley's season is over. Yes, it is a serious knee injury for Conor Bradley, and Liverpool have now confirmed surgery. Yes, Conor Bradley has been ruled out for the rest of the campaign with what the club have described as a significant knee injury, with surgery planned next week. Surgery scans confirm damage to both bone and ligaments. Surgery is planned for next week with no fixed return time frame. And due to this, we've got a bit of defensive crisis, with Bradley now joining Leone as a long-term absentee. Pressure grows on Jeremy Frimpong and Joe Gomez. Bradley, of course, had to be stretchered off in the final stages of the draw at Arsenal after a sort of non-contact knee injury, one which left Arne Slot already fearing the worst. So, yeah, look, this is what it is right now. Liverpool have confirmed it, and it's too early to assess the sort of chances in terms of Northern Ireland and him going to the World Cup. What a big moment for him to represent his country should they actually qualify through the playoffs. But yeah, it is a major blow, let's be perfectly honest, because, yeah, defensive options are dwindling quite a lot, and we're going to have to ask more from our sort of other players like Frimpong and Joe Gomez. So, yeah, pretty unfortunate that. However, having said that, despite Conor Bradley's injury and the sad news that his campaign is over, we are seeing this now here with regard to Ekitike, and it does seem as though that he could be back in contention soon as well, so to be back ready for that sort of cup return. So whilst that is devastating for Bradley, I really do think of him at this moment in time. Of course, it's a hard one to take. I hope that he can make a recovery should Northern Ireland. I mean, it's going to be a big blow. Obviously, not going to be able to represent his country probably for those playoffs. But if Northern Ireland get there, my goodness me, it would really be a huge blow for his nation as well. And for a player who plays for a sort of smaller country like Northern Ireland, these chances don't come around too often. So it's pretty heartbreaking. And certainly he's probably not going to be able to have that sort of impact that he probably wanted to try and drive his nation there. Which is also very, very sad to see. But from a Liverpool perspective, yeah, a big blow for us defensively. Will this see us sort of turn to the transfer market? I'm not too sure, but we'll have to monitor it as time goes on. In other news, Liverpool have leaned on Virgil van Dijk more heavily than at any point in recent seasons, with the club's defensive depth repeatedly tested by injury and disruption at centre-back. For long stretches of the campaign, Arne Slot has effectively been operating with only two senior options in the heart of defence, placing an even greater premium on the availability, leadership and consistency of his captain. In that context, Van Dijk's durability has been every bit as valuable as his performances. That the Dutchman has not only stayed fit, but largely maintained his elite standards, while others around him have struggled, has once again reinforced his importance to this Liverpool side.
When stability has been scarce, Van Dijk has remained the constant, organising the back line, setting the tone in possession, and carrying the authority that has defined his time at Anfield. Yet even with his influence undiminished, Liverpool are acutely aware that planning for life after Van Dijk is no longer a distant, abstract exercise. Although the centre-back has stated publicly that he would like to remain at Liverpool beyond 2027, the club will be forced into a significant decision within the next 18 months. By that point, Van Dijk will be approaching his mid-30s, and Liverpool's recruitment model has historically been ruthless when it comes to age profiles and long-term squad planning. For now, there is little evidence on the pitch to suggest he should be moved on. If his fitness holds and his performances remain at this level, the case for extending his stay and his captaincy is compelling. Nevertheless, the end of his playing career will arrive eventually, whether that is next year or several seasons down the line. And in a revealing aside, Van Dijk has now offered the clearest indication yet of how he could remain involved in football once his boots are finally hung up. Speaking during a photo shoot with British Vogue, the Liverpool captain was asked what path he might have taken had he not become a professional footballer. His answer raised eyebrows. "It would be difficult because obviously I've been putting all my eggs in that basket since I was very young," Van Dijk said. "But if I have to pick right now, I probably would be a sporting director." It is an intriguing suggestion, particularly at a time when Liverpool's own sporting structure remains under scrutiny. While Richard Hughes has received praise for elements of the most recent summer window, questions persist in some quarters about his long-term suitability for such a pivotal role at Anfield. His close working relationship with Michael Edwards makes any immediate change highly unlikely, but it is a conversation that will inevitably surface again in future seasons. Hughes himself represents a clear precedent, a former player who successfully transitioned into a senior executive position. If that pathway is open to him, it is difficult to argue that it would not also be open to Van Dijk. Few individuals understand Liverpool's modern identity better, and even fewer command the level of respect he carries across the dressing room, the club hierarchy, and the wider game. Van Dijk is already a modern Liverpool legend, and while there is often risk in allowing iconic figures to linger beyond their playing days, the idea of him contributing in a strategic decision-making role is an enticing one. His leadership, composure, and big-picture thinking, all hallmarks of his career, would translate naturally into the boardroom. For now, that future remains some distance away. Liverpool still need their number 4 on the pitch, marshalling the defence and setting standards. But when the time does come, Van Dijk has offered a glimpse of what might follow, and it could yet see him shaping Liverpool's future long after his final appearance in red. But that is all for today's video. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel for daily Liverpool content. We post all the latest Liverpool news every day, so join our fast-growing community so you never miss out. Thank you. I'll see you in the next video.